Chapter 25. All That Glisters. As Pegasus touched down at home farm, Virgo leapt triumphantly off his back. "I can't wait for the others to get back," she cried. "We have to celebrate." Elliot held the bag containing the crown tightly to his beating chest. Celebrating would have to wait. There was something he had to do first. "I need to check on Mum," he said quickly. "You wait in the shed and tell them the good news. I'll come up when I'm done." "Oh, the jacuzzi," said Virgo, running towards the shed. "I can't get near it when Hermes is here." "I'd better go and fetch the old boy," said Pegasus, launching into the sky. "No rest for the wonderful." Checking that no one was watching, Elliot slunk away to the relative privacy of the fields behind the farmhouse. With a deep breath, he reverently pulled the crown out of the bag. Elliot stared at the magnificent diamond at its heart. The earthstone was the size of a small apple and had been cut with countless flat edges, which refracted the afternoon sun into 100 rainbows on the ground. How could something this beautiful corrupt anyone? It could surely only be a force for good. Elliot slowly reached out and touched the huge diamond. As his fingers made contact with the earthstone, it immediately started to glow with the strength of 1,000 sunbeams. He snatched his hand away as if he'd been bitten. The glow disappeared. "Whoa," whispered Elliot. It was true. He really had the mystical earthstone at his command. For the first time in his life, Elliot had an inkling of what real power felt like. He reached out again, this time placing his whole palm on the earthstone. As he connected with the diamond, it felt like it had been made for his hand alone. The incandescent glow illuminated the field, and for a moment there was nothing in the world but Elliot and the earthstone. It was a good feeling. He tightened his grasp around the earthstone, and as he pulled his hand back, the huge diamond came away from the crown like a head from a pillow. Elliot tossed the useless crown on the ground and cupped his hands around the earthstone. He closed his eyes. "Find me treasure," he whispered, experiencing a sensation the like of which he'd never known. 1,000,000 tingling atoms flowed through his veins at the command, empowering every millimetre of his body. He felt bigger. He felt stronger. He felt invincible. As the earthstone's rays hit the ground, it began to tremble and shudder beneath Elliot's feet. A distant rumble became slowly louder as the diamond glowed brighter in his hand, blinding him with its supernatural glow. Elliot had to resist the urge to roar with the power that surged through his body. A thin black line snaked along the ground in front of him. The rumble became stronger, the line widened, and the quaking earth started to open up. Elliot just had time to step aside before there was a jolt, as if the soil were about to be violently ill. Then it suddenly exploded in a shower of rubble, propelling him across the grass. Elliot instinctively covered his face with his hands, dropping the earthstone, which immediately extinguished. The explosion passed. Elliot waved his hand to clear the air and spat a mouthful of grit from his lips. What had just happened? As the dust floated back to the earth, Elliot struggled to comprehend the scene before him. Scattered all around as if they had fallen from the sky were unimaginable precious treasures. Some were buried artifacts, others raw gemstones from the ground. There was gold, silver. He couldn't even name some of the shining lumps that littered the farmyard. But Elliot didn't care. Whatever they were worth a fortune. He'd become a frequent customer at Mr. McGregor's pawn shop in the village, where he'd sold all of Nan's jewellery and anything else of value over the past months to raise some cash. He thought of Mr. McGregor's eyes bursting out of his head when he saw this haul. "Epic," whispered Elliot as he gathered armfuls of the precious loot and put the earthstone carefully into his pocket. Imagine what else he could do with its power. He could find gold and jewels anywhere. He and Mum could be rich beyond their wildest dreams. And never have to eat beans again. Perhaps the earthstone could be borrowed on a more permanent basis. But these were matters for another time. Right now, he had to let those stupid loan people know that he had their money. He exhaled weeks of pent-up worry into the dusty air. At last, Home Farm was safe. Elliot sprinted towards his front door, stopping only to collect the bits of booty that fell from his arms. He burst into the farmhouse laden with his treasure. "Mum! Mum! We're celebrating!" he cried. "I've got—" "Hello, honey pot!" chirped Patricia Portially Plum, blocking his path to the kitchen, her eyes as warm as winter. "Oh, are you playing pirates?" "How did you get in here?" Elliot asked suspiciously. "You should be more careful, Munchkin," trilled Patricia, "leaving that gate wide open like that. Anyone could have got in." "Are you okay, Mum?" said Elliot, pushing past Patricia to where his mum was sitting happily in the kitchen. "Oh, we've had the loveliest time, haven't we, Josie?" said Patricia, looming behind her and squeezing her shoulders. "Lovely, Ellie. We had scones." "Scones, dear," corrected Patricia. "They're called scones." "You look tired, Mum," Elliot said, glancing at Patricia. "Why don't you go upstairs and have a lie down?" "What a lovely idea, Josie. That way, Ellie and I can have a little chat about our busy bee day." Pausing only to give her son a loving squeeze on her way past, Josie headed quietly upstairs to her bedroom. "Ellykins, I know what's been going on," said Patricia gravely, as soon as Josie was out of earshot. "You poor, poor little pickle. What a lot you've had to deal with. You should have asked me for help." "We're fine, thank you," said Elliot, sensing greater danger from this awful woman. "Of course you are, Sugar Plum Plum." "Or at least you will be now." Elliot's blood cooled by several degrees. "What do you mean?" "Well, Mumsy and I were talking over lunch the other day. You know, girl talk. And she told me about your money worries." She whispered them like the dirty words that they were. "I know about the house." "Mum doesn't know about the house," said Elliot. "So how could she tell you?" "Mummies know everything, Pumpkin," said Patricia, her eyes betraying that she'd slipped up. "But you don't need to worry about that silly loan anymore." "Why?" asked Elliot suspiciously. "To think they sent that horrid ickle-bickle letter threatening your home. Some people have no shame," she said with her monkey-bottom pout. "I don't understand." "The loan! The £20,000! It's history! All gone! Poof!" trilled Patricia, with a voice like a frantic merry-go-round. "I've paid off your debt in full." Elliot couldn't believe it. How could he get someone so wrong? All this time he thought Patricia was a rotten, interfering harridan. And yet she'd given them this wonderful gift. His gut instincts were never normally this off. But he'd never been happier to be wrong in all his life. "Mrs. Portially Plum, I don't know how to thank you," he said. "Oh, no need to worry about that, my little porky pie," said Patricia. "Anything to see you and Mumsy happy." That's amazing," smiled Elliot. He couldn't believe it. After all that, salvation was living next door. Life was full of surprises. "Virtue is its own reward," said Patricia, standing to leave. "And besides, Mummy has already thanked me in a super special way." "Sorry," said Elliot. "I'm sure it's for the best. This place must be so much work for you." "What do you mean?" asked Elliot, his blood temperature starting to dip once more. "All that cleaning and all those bills to worry about, not to mention finding some more suitable care for Mummy Poos." "What's for the best?" asked Elliot, now practically an ice lolly inside. "What have you done?" "It's good news, Dumpling," said Patricia, pulling a sheaf of papers from her handbag and tossing them on the kitchen table. "We finalised all the paperwork today." What What are these? Said Elliot, his panic blurring the legal gobbledygook before his eyes. It's so exciting, Pookie, shrieked Patricia. Mummy sold me your farm. Elliot choked back the sickness that spewed up his throat. No, you don't understand, he cried. She's not well. She doesn't know what she's doing. She'd never sell the farm. He held all the treasure in his arms out to Patricia. Here, take this. Let me buy it back, he said, tears filling his eyes. You can have it all. I can get you more. I can get you anything you want. Just please. Oh, there, said Patricia, chucking Elliot a piece of kitchen roll to dry his eyes. There's no need to do that. Besides, you're going to need that money. Why? Choked Elliot. Patricia's face lit up like a jack-o'-lantern. To find somewhere else to live, she sneered. I have legally purchased Home Farm, Patricia chuckled as she played her final ace. For £20. There was a scream in Elliot's head as a roar of blood rushed to his brain. Get out, he yelled as his fingers tightened around the earthstone in his pocket. Ellie? Said Josie sleepily, wandering back into the kitchen. What's all the noise? That's no way to talk to your elders and betters, said Patricia, ignoring Josie as she parked her handbag on her arm. My solicitor says the house sale should take about 4 weeks. I suggest you start packing. Packing for what? Said Josie anxiously. What house sale? Where are we going, Ellie? What's happening? Get out, said Elliot menacingly, wishing the ground would open up and swallow Patricia whole. The diamond began to glow in his palm. Ugh, snorted Patricia, taking a disdainful look around the kitchen. This really is a mercy killing. The rats must be complaining to the council about this place. Ellie, I don't understand, said Josie. Why is she saying, I said, get out, yelled Elliot, his body igniting with the power of the stone. As his voice exploded into the air, the kitchen filled with the diamond's light. The ground beneath Patricia's feet burst open, nearly sending her tumbling into the small ravine it created in the middle of the kitchen. Elliot, cried Josie in disbelief. What the? This place is a death trap, shrieked Patricia as she teetered over the chasm. Elliot stood panting in the middle of the kitchen, his blue eyes darkened with the tint of pure hatred. I think you should leave, Patricia, said Josie, rushing to her son and pulling him into her arms. Elliot dropped the earthstone to the floor and collapsed into his mother's embrace. Fine with me, scowled Patricia, but mark my words. So long as there is breath in this body, in 4 weeks the pair of you will be where you belong. Out on the street. Patricia stormed out of the farm, leaving Elliot crying in his mother's arms. He stayed in her embrace for an eternity, shaking with agonized sobs. I can't do it, Mum, he gasped eventually. I can't do it any more. Shh, soothed Josie, stroking his head. I'm sure we can make it better. Now tell me what's happened. Something at school? Elliot looked tearfully into his mother's calm face. She'd already forgotten. But he couldn't. In 4 weeks, Elliot and Josie would lose Home Farm. Patricia Porsley Plum had won.